Everyone, it's your friendly neighborhood world film geek, Albert Valentin. So this past Saturday, we did a celebration of the 10th anniversary of worldfilmgeek.com, and I touched upon a bit about interview tips for aspiring film bloggers. Well, I figured why not make a full video out of it? So that's what this is today. This is interview tips for aspiring film bloggers. Just a bit of the do's and don'ts from my experiences of what to do when you're doing an interview with an actor and filmmaker, what you should not do, what I want to recommend, and stuff like that. So, but this is one thing I have to keep stressing this because I got this advice from a film critic. If you're going to be a film blogger and you're really passionate about it, keep writing. That's the most important thing. Always keep writing. AKW, let's just put it that way. Always keep writing because eventually the rewards be will come your way. Okay, so here are the do's. This is what you should do during an interview with an actor or filmmaker. Always stick to the project that they're promoting. If this is a actor or filmmaker who has a new film that's out and they're out here to doing these press days to promote the film, always stick to that project. Because and you can, if you're a fan of their other works, it's cool to mention it, but make sure you mention that in the very beginning of the interview. Tell them, like, for instance, I spoke with an actress for a film she did, and I mentioned that I was a fan of another film she did. So I mentioned that in the very beginning, and it really worked. And then we segued into the whole point of the interview is to promote this person's latest work. And that's what you want to do. It's cool to mention, like I said, you can mention the other work, save that for just do that in the very beginning. Always stick to the project that they're promoting. Now, it could be different if it's an actor or filmmaker who is maybe new to the scene and they're looking to get promoted out there, or it's a legend who wants to talk about their like a career retrospective. That's cool also. I've done a couple of those. And I will say if you do that, you can talk about their inspiration in acting, how, what influenced them to become an actor or a filmmaker. Who were their heroes? Talk about their first projects. How did it go? And then, of course, if they have any new stuff out, you bring it, ask them, is there any new projects? So do that as well. That's for if it's a new actor or one who's wants to talk about their career. So that's another thing you could do. When I did my first interview in 1999, I did it with one of my all-time favorite action stars of the 90s, and I got lucky into doing this. I contacted him, and he was willing to do it. I was nervous. I was nervous as hell, and that's okay. If this is the first time you're ever doing an interview with an actor or filmmaker and you're feeling all nervous, don't worry. It's okay. Because you know what? What's going to happen is as you do more interviews, that comfort level that you have within is going to get better. I promise you that. Okay. I've been doing this for, like I said, altogether now 10 years of doing interviews straight through. My nerves kicked in at times, but I get comfortable, at getting more comfortable and more comfortable. And then eventually it'll come at you just like that. So it's okay to be nervous that first time out. You have no problem. You know, you're not there to be Gene Siskel or Roger Ebert, in terms of that, or any of those journalists you see are interviewing stars like the Good Morning America crew. You're not doing that. You're just a regular person. You just get an interview an actor or filmmaker. Maybe it's someone you grew up watching. And yeah, those nerves might kick in, but at the same time, there's that level of excitement, and it's okay to be nervous the first time, just keep going. That's all you gotta do. If you're nervous, that's okay. Get through it and then keep doing more interviews, accept more interviews. So do that. The nerves will eventually go away. There are times now where I get emails from actors and filmmakers and they want you to promote their latest work, check out their film. And if you like the film, perhaps you'll get to do an interview with them. They'll give you an opportunity, I'd like to talk about the film. If that happens to you, do yourself a favor. Take that opportunity. Take advantage of that and set up an appointment with this actor or filmmaker. collaborate a schedule with them, because like I said, you might get nervous the first time out, but then, if you have an actor or filmmaker contacting you directly, that's going to be a whole lot better for you because eventually, as I mentioned, the nerves will go away and you'll get right into it. And they'll really, not only will they really appreciate it, but inside you'll really appreciate it. So if you get that, if you get contacted by an actor or filmmaker and you like their film and they offered, they'd like to talk about it, take that opportunity and take that chance. Okay. This one's for people who work with PR companies because I work with a lot of PR companies. I've been doing it for a while now. So there's a couple of tips on this one. So first of all, there are gonna be times when you have a time limit with through a PR company. It depends on the PR company. Sometimes they'll give you all the time in the world. But most of the time nowadays, you get a time limit, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. If you do that and you get this interview, pay attention to the time. What's cool is when you're on Zoom and you're talking to the actor or filmmaker, the PR company is there with you. They'll put in the chat, you'll have so an amount of time left. They'll give you like a 2-minute warning or a 1-minute warning, or it's time to wrap up. Pay attention to that. It's very important because on days like that, you're not the only one they're interviewing for the day. They got a lot of people waiting in line. It's like a queue. So be respectful of that time and take advantage of the time limit you have. They'll sometimes let you go maybe 1 or 2 minutes over, depending on how well you're doing and from my experience. But yeah, one thing you really want to do is be respectful of the time limit. Another thing you want to do is there might be an occasional occurrence where the PR company will tell you, even though you're doing the interview on Zoom, the actor or filmmaker you're interviewing, they much prefer an audio, and um, that's okay. What I like to do with my videos is if it's strictly audio, I get the publicity stills that the PR company sends me, and I'll add them. I'll put those on the video with the audio running, and that works. But there's gonna be, they sometimes have ground rules as well, and you wanna pay attention to those ground rules. And this is why. Because when you're working with a PR company, you're gonna wanna keep that relationship with them because they're the ones who are gonna get you the interviews that you'll eventually probably wanna get. Um, from my experience, I've been blessed to have interviews with some of my favorite actors growing up and through a specific PR company because I kept this relationship with them. I was very respectful of their rules and their time limits. And, I didn't think that over the last few years I was interviewing people I grew up watching as a kid who I idolized. And I had that chance to do it because the PR company sees this great relationship between me and myself and them. So if they have ground rules for certain interviews, pay attention to that because that's going to be very important. You want to keep the relationship with the PR company going. So remember that. Be respectful of their time and be respectful of any changes to their rules as normal. And they're really good. I mean, there's some great PR companies out there. And they might reach out to you like they did to me. And if not, you never know. You can try to contact them and see if there's anything you can do, get some advice from them. And yeah, who knows? It might happen for you. Now we're getting to what you do not want to do when it comes to interviewing actors and filmmakers.
The reason I'm asking about the past is that you've talked in other interviews again about your relationship with your father and the role of all of that in the dark periods you entered and taking drugs and drinking and all of that. And I just wondered whether you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still
I'm
something
sorry,
you.
I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions. That's all. I
Right.
mean,
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
are you? I'm sorry.
You do not want to be like that guy. Trust me, you don't. You saw what happened. He walked right out. So that's rule number one of what not to do in an interview with actors and filmmakers. Do not go asking personal questions. You do not want to go there. It's not a good idea. They're there to promote their latest work. That's what you should, as I mentioned, that's what you should stick to. Promote their latest work. Don't go into personal questions, okay? If you're working directly with the actor and filmmaker, wait till you're done with the interview and then you can talk to them a bit about themselves. That's okay. You know, you can talk a little bit before or after you schedule it, but when you're doing the actual interview, don't go into that. And don't go into what this guy did. That's just ridiculous. I don't know what he was thinking, but don't don't do that. It's not good and it could end up making your reputation ruined and you don't want to risk that if you're just getting into this. You just want to do the right thing here. Also, it's okay if you don't get the interview you're given right away. There's PR companies will give you a list of people to interview. And I've had a chance, I'm willing to interview anyone. Now there's gonna be times when I thought to myself, oh man, this is really cool. I can interview this person, maybe it'll happen. Fingers crossed. And if I don't get it due to maybe, they're talking with someone else or whatnot for other reason, don't get disappointed. Don't let it get to you. You know what? Who knows? Just keep doing what you're doing, and down the road, you might eventually get that interview with that actor you really want to talk to. It can happen. It happened to me. I didn't think that. For instance, I'll give you one example. I didn't ever thought I would talk to Mark Singer, and I always idolized him from the Beastmaster and V. And I when they told me and they said, "Oh, after like so many years, I got to interview him." And nicest guy in the world, by the way, awesome guy. Everyone I talked to is like amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you about that. But don't get disappointed that first time out. I mean, you're gonna get eventually ones that you didn't get a chance to talk to, but that's okay. Don't let it get to you. Just keep doing your thing. My advice: if you get the list of interview people who are going to be interviewed, interview anyone available. That's what I would do. Because you never know, you might get some good stories out of it from these people. So yeah, don't let it get you down if you don't get that one interview you want. Just keep doing your thing. Finally, don't expect A-list Hollywood from the start. All right, this film blogging and doing interviews like this, it might seem cutthroat, but it's not. For me, like nowadays, I work with specifically with indies and global cinema. And because, everyone's got no their A-list films. Everyone's got their A-list properties and whatnot. But, indies and global cinema, they're a cinematic universes that don't get enough love. And that's what I wanted to focus this blog on for the last, I want to say 5 years. I've been doing this for 10 years, but the last five I really focused on indies and world films because they need more love around the world. And that's what I'm promoting now. And believe me, when it comes to this and you get to meet the filmmakers behind these, you can see the passion in their films. Even if some films might look a bit ridiculous, but the whole point is they want that passion. So you want to keep going with that. So, don't expect to interview Vin Diesel or Tom Cruise right off the bat. You know, don't expect that. Just if PR company contacts you, you got your list, interview anyone who's available on that list. That's my suggestion because you never know. You like I said, you'll get some good stories behind it. So that's what you should not do when it comes to interviews. And here are a few little more tips I'm gonna let you guys out with. Okay. Another thing you should do, one more thing you should do is when you're doing a interview for the first time, write yourself a list of questions that you want to ask the actor or filmmaker. What I like to do is ask certain specific questions. Like, for instance, if I'm talking to an actor about a new film, my question would be, what inspired you to take on the role of so and so? That would be for actors. For filmmakers, it would be something like, what inspired you to direct so and so? Another thing is, what's it like working with the other cast members? You might get I've gotten some great stories from that question alone. So definitely, what's it like working with the cast? One thing I especially like to ask filmmakers, because in a way, an interview is like a behind the scenes story. I always like to ask them, how long was shooting and what challenges did you face during production? And A lot of times you're gonna hear, it's time constraints, but sometimes, and I gotten this, you get some other wild stories from these filmmakers who bust their butts to make these films. They're gonna do whatever it takes to get these projects off the ground and, have you guys watch them for entertainment. Now, finally, the one I always ask everyone, are there any new projects that you can talk about? I phrased it like that because a lot of times I was getting responses like, well, I have something in the works, but I cannot talk about it yet. But there'll be others who have new films that they shot and they find out it's getting released around the time that this particular project comes out. Is, well, I have this coming out then. I do have something else, but I'm not sure I can't really talk about that quite yet, but you'll probably hear about it. So yeah, I always phrase it, are there any new projects that you can talk about? You definitely want to do that. That's definitely a question I would ask. These are for people who have their new projects out. Some first questions I like to ask new actors or career retrospectives are, what inspired you to become an actor or filmmaker? Who were your favorites growing up? What was your first project like? Can you tell us about your latest project? So these are the core four I would ask these particular people. And eventually, as you get more comfortable doing these interviews and you're not going to need these questions anymore offhand, they're going to come second nature. And you might even, in terms of other filmmakers, you might actually get to talk with them as if you're at a bar and you're talking about these other films. Like you can compare some of the stuff they did to other films and they have an appreciation. A lot of times, like I'd say 99.9%, they have an appreciation for that. So yeah, that's what you want to do. Well, that is my interview tips for aspiring film bloggers. If you are an aspiring film blogger and you want some advice, you can always email me at worldfilmgeek@gmail.com. But always AKW, always keep writing. That's what you want to do. And eventually the rewards will come to you. So in the meantime, check out worldfilmgeek.com for latest news, reviews. Check out the YouTube channel for interviews and so much more. Until then, guys, stay awesome.